April 23rd, 2015, the energy patch.
This is what we call our dream team Lifewave call, and Dr. Joan and I are kind of like the main doing this call on Thursday nights, and Randy is the co-host and leads the call typically until he jumps on. I'm going to lead the call. So this call is, we're going to talk about the energy patch. So we're going to talk for the next 7 weeks about each patch and the order that they actually were introduced from the company. And we want to share that with everyone and then talk about the benefits of just the patch tonight about the energy patch. So that's the first one. So I'm actually going to start recording this call. So everybody give me just 1 second here.
Conference recording started.
Okay, so everybody, welcome to the call. This is Dr. Nicholas Tivoli, chiropractor from Arizona, and I'm going to basically share and talk about my story and the history, a little bit about the company, and how the first patch was developed from the company and why it was developed. So I got involved with Dr. Jones 6 years ago, a little over 6 years ago. We were introduced to this technology by reading and looking at Suzanne Summers' book, and it was talking about a very interesting technology that sounded too good to be true. So we ordered the technology and tried it and had
Line muted.
personally and on all of our patients. So this is what led us to get really deeply involved. So the patch tonight we're going to talk about is called the Energy Enhancer. This patch was actually developed for the military Navy SEALs, and they had what they call a mini sub program before 9/11. So what happened was there's a single man submarine, one person fits on it and goes on a mission in front of a larger sub. And so what they were doing was they were getting 36-hour missions, but they were using pep pills, caffeine, different things to kind of give you stimulants to give you energy, and they were getting really sloppy. So David Schmidt, the inventor, was working as a subcontractor developing survival equipment to make, very kind of forward-thinking inventions to support them to do different things. And one of the things he was able to create was the first patch. It took 2 years to develop and come out with the prototype, and the energy patch is the patch we're talking about. So it's a non-transdermal patch. It looks like a Band-Aid. There's two. There's a positive white patch and a tan negative patch. So you put the two patches on very specific points, and I'm going to share a little bit about each point and why you'd want to use it for different points for different reasons. But before I do that, what the patch is doing is it's actually emitting a different frequency into the body to stimulate fat burning for stamina. So what happened was the troops were wearing the patches, and they started noticing they were getting increased amounts of energy, stamina. So you get a response from them like 4% up to 400%. So if you're sitting doing nothing, you're basically not going to feel much. If you're more physically active, you're going to get more of a response from the patch. So what that means is your body's going to burn physical fat to give you this energy. And what happens is you have these little tiny engines in all the cells, they call them mitochondria, and they need fuel called ATP. So if you're sitting doing nothing, those little engines are not active. But when you're physically moving or running, you're using all the large muscles where there's tons of these little engines, you're going to get a bigger response from it. So this is how they started using the patches. They were getting increased energy. They were able to do the long missions very successfully and have a huge response from it. And so that's where they started. So where it actually came online to basically the future of Lifewave when it started was in 2004, and they were using these patches for the women's swim team for the Stanford women's swim team with Coach Richard Quick, and that was when the patches basically started for us as in terms of like not being in the military anymore, but going to the public. And so there was a huge controversy because the women were actually breaking records in practice using them. They were actually able to be more physically alert, mentally, they were doing better in school, but they were just doing so well that when they went to the Olympics, they were just knocking it out of everybody's doing extremely well. So they thought that the other coaches saw, oh, there must be doping, and so there was a big scandal around the patches. They took the patch literally to a UCLA, I think was the school that did it, did the study on it, tore the patch apart, found out there's no drugs in it, no dope, and that they were all natural. And David Schmidt had to go up in front of the Olympic Committee and explain how they worked and why. And so there's a whole letter of recommendation from the Olympic Committee saying that these are safe to use. So they've now been used in the last several Olympics from that point. And there's a great picture of Michael Phelps on the front of USA Today wearing the patches when he won his 8 gold medals in the Beijing Olympics, which is really exciting. So it brings about a lot of credibility, but then there's a lot of negative press about it because of that. So it's kind of like cleared up from that point, but when you learn about it, you'll see there's some of that there. So this is kind of the history of the patches, but so for us, when we started using them, it was Dr. Jones. She had a really profound experience with the energy patches, and it just gave her a lot of mental energy. It turned on like fat burning, so the large sugar of the body, so your brain. You got a lot of memory, brain balancing, energy, creative thinking. Those are the kind of things that started to happen for her. So this is kind of what we wanted to start off with and share tonight about. But Dr. Joan, if you wanted to share anything, and then I'm going to see if Randy's back on, where we can jump on there. So.
Sure. Most people think of the energy patches for sports, for activity, for general energy, and they're fantastic for that, and I know you're going to cover that. But what actually happens also, another use form that's really great, is the energy patches, they actually signal the cells of your body to make what's called ATP. And for you information junkies out there, that's adenosine triphosphate, and for the rest of us normal people, ATP is to the cell what gasoline would be to a car. So the energy patches send a signal to the cell to create energy. And then the cell uses that to function at a higher level. So whether it's healing an injury like a broken bone or the body healing itself of any illness, it takes an enormous amount of energy, cellular energy, in order to accomplish either one of those things. So in those instances of an injury or an illness, I would patch as close to the area of concern as possible. Like if you have a broken bone, I would patch right on that broken bone area, over the cast or whatever you have to do. And in the case of illnesses, it also takes large amounts of cellular energy for the organs to detox. So if you're detoxing a particular organ, I suggest that you patch the energy points for that organ and don't make it too difficult. If it's, say you're trying to detox the lung, it would be the collarbone along the inside of the shoulder, which is placement number 1 in your energy instruction booklet. If you're trying to detox the kidneys, it would be inside of the ankle, which is placement number 4 in your energy booklet. Most all the information is really there for you. And so I wouldn't make it too difficult. But with all that being said, when you're using the patches for injuries or for an illness or a disease thing, it's extremely important for me to say that the patches send a signal to the cells to create energy. Your body makes the decision what to do with that energy, and the body decides where to send it where it's most needed. So it's important to remember that the patches don't heal anything. It's your body that actually does the healing. And I know, Dr. Nichols, you were going to talk a little bit about sports and different types of energy to use, but most people forget that your body needs energy in order to heal.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most significant part of it, in that they do different things in terms of like the placement. There's a systemic effect no matter where you put them, but they found that when they started challenging the body with these very specific points, and some of them are known as acupuncture points, that they were getting a bigger response. So you're getting the benefit of the patch, plus clearing this very specific channel of energy through the body. So the first placement that Dr. John was sharing is on the shoulders. That gives you oxygen, so they call it an aerobic effect. So if you're really trying to breathe deeper or have more oxygen for different activities, then you're going to actually want to wear them on those points. The points on the inside of the wrist is an anaerobic activity type of an effect, which would be typically for like, if you want to think of like somebody, for an example, like football players, where you need that type of energy, so to speak. It's not the large, long endurance type. And then if you wear them on the inside of the knees, below the knee points, which is in the shirt, it's really a very specific point that would be for sports athletes. We're talking about more like hockey players, basketball players, even golfers. It's more of a long-term, more endurance effect. So, and what they've done is they've actually challenged the body doing those activities and found that they had the best response with the patch, the energy patch specifically, during these types of sports activities. And for ankles, on the ankles, which is the last point, is the best for runners. And that's what they found. So I've challenged the body in different placements, and I found I felt great no matter where I placed them for what I do typically, but this has been really significant to note this. So if you're really, focusing in on a different sport activity, this is the placement that you're going to want to use. And so just some other things that I wanted to make sure I covered was that there are studies, they're double-blind, placebo-controlled studies. They've done studies on these to show that there are no side effects. So they've done studies for people that have high blood pressure, and it normalizes a lot of times. People that had strokes, people who are on using pacemakers, and then on medications. And this is actually on PubMed, which is the Public Library of Medicine. And if your science is on this website, that makes it, honestly, they call it real science if you talk to medical doctors. And if you went to the website and put in the search, you put in Lifewave energy patches, and the same study that you would find on the Lifewave website will come up. So for those of you that need to have research, there it is. So that's kind of like the facts and the study that I wanted to cover, just to make sure we're on track here. But Randy, if you're on the line, if you want to share anything while we're kind of getting going here, that'd be great. I think you got on. If you
I am.
Jump right in. How are you?
Here. Yes, yeah, thanks. I tell you, this was our first patch, and I started using these over 10 years ago, and I've literally used these patches every day for the last 10 years. And the difference that it makes in people's energy level is just incredible. So what I did, I used to be a professional skier, so how I built my business is I actually went out and introduced this to some of the top skiers in the world, Canadian national ski team, a lot of the other teams, and so they've been using them in their training as well as their races. And so when you see the difference that this can make in people, it's incredible. Not only professional athletes, of course, just your average everyday athlete can, and also people working. I've got a friend of mine who's a bricklayer, and what he said is he started using the patches 10 years ago, and he actually could double the amount of work he could do in a day because of the extra energy. And he gets paid by the square foot. I think it was $25 a square foot. So he could go from, instead of making $500 a day to $1,000 a day just by you spending a couple of dollars on these patches. So, when you look at that, Dr. Nicholas and Dr. Jones, you really have to make people realize that this can really increase their life, what they can do for them. And so it's pretty incredible. So that's what I'd like to add right now. But if you can jump back in, I've got some people coming into the elevator. I'm sitting there right now. So go ahead.
No worries. Thanks, Randy. That's awesome, and I appreciate you sharing that. I wanted to ask, I think I have Karen on the line. Karen, if you're there, just hit the 4-star to unmute, and if you just want to share a little bit about your background. You're actually using the energy patches, but you're also using a few of the others. But if you want to just kind of like talk about what your kind of came in with, and then a little bit about the basic, benefits you had in just a short period of time, just to share, that'd be great. Are you there, Karen?
I'm here. Can you hear me, Karen?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Okay, so how many days have I been doing this? About 4 or 5 days. And I came to it, someone I met told me about them and told me to work with Dr. Nicholas and place them. And I've been challenged by Parkinson's for 4.5 years. And the worst symptom for me is the tremor. So I'm pretty functional because of some of the other things that I discovered. But the tremor has not been helped by anything. So we still have the tremor going, but I think one of the most significant things for me in these 5 days is what you told me to do about the scar tissue, because I have an 8-inch scar up the central channel of my body, and most acupuncturists tell me that's a terrible thing. And Dr. Nicholas said, take any patch, massage the scar, and then run the patch up and down. And one thing I can say is that after I did that, the patches seemed to have a greater effect on my body, and all of a sudden I had energy. Yesterday and today, I had more energy today than I've had in years. So I'm still hoping the tremor gets addressed, but if not, I'm really grateful for the improvements I've had so far.
That's really significant, Karen. And some of the other things that I think I remember you were talking about was that some of the I think a sleep pattern change for better. And the thing is that the way these patches work, which is what Dr. John and I philosophically were so excited about, was that it just allows your body to do what it already knows to do. It's not going to alter and control it. It's going to allow it to do more of what it does. So it's reducing the energy or the toxicities, the inflammation, the stress, and boosting energy production to basically it's like a tune-up to your body. And it's going to let it do what it does already, only better and more efficiently. And that's what's actually been happening for you in just in a short period of time. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing that. I know it's been, a lot, but yet a lot's changing and fast. So that was really nice of you to come on and do that. But yeah, Randy, it's been Okay, thank you. Yes, we will definitely be in touch. That's the nice part about this product and the company is that you're able to work with a lot of people and you can work with people from anywhere, and I met you through another person that just happened to make a connection, and here we are now, and you're in a different part of the country, and we've not physically met, but we've talked on the phone and able to get you some changes. So, Randy, I think that's what's exciting about the product and the company is that this allows us to make those kind of connections and help so many more people, where when we were in practice, we were only allowed to work with who was in our little community and who could physically come to us, and we could physically work with them, where now this allows us to branch out to, like, the sky is the limit. And when we got out of school, our whole philosophy was, let's change the world. Well, we actually can make that kind of a progress dent in that philosophy by doing the product and the company that we're involved in. And that's where the business is exciting, and even doing that for many more years and had that much more success. And I think that's what's nice is how we can make those kind of connections and work together as a team to get those kind of benefits. But yeah, so I just think it's pretty exciting. And if you have anything else that you want to add to that, Randy, that was very cool. We can talk about what we're going to talk about next week before we wrap the call.
Sure, I'm just in a little bit of a noisy place here. Sorry about that. But yeah, when you look and see what this product can do for people, literally it's something that you really want to try. What we're going to be doing over the next 7 weeks is doing a different patch every week. And if I'm not mistaken, it would be our sleep patcher that we'll be doing for next week. And so for people that have any issues sleeping at all, this is a patch that can totally change the way that we can get a restful sleep. And of course, when we're sleeping, that's when our body is healing. So with that, I'm going to let you finish it off. I'm just in a crowded area that's going to get really busy here. If you don't mind, Dr. Nicholas, I'm going to go on mute.
No worries, Randy. I got it. I appreciate you jumping in there. So, yeah, so we do this call every Thursday night, same time. If you have anybody you're trying to introduce the products, this would be a great call to do that. It's an educational tool we're using this call for to educate people on the benefits of the patches and why you'd want to use them and consistently use them, whether you have health or not. And we want to make the disclaimer that we're not treating diseases. We're not, basically, we're just saying, here's how you can use this to help with your symptoms. And then ultimately your body's going to basically heal itself. So that being said, I want to thank everybody for being on the call tonight. And if you know anybody else, please, you can always email us at chiroease at